So these elderly gentlemen sent me an email, a bit long-winded. He was quite infuriated. I can understand why. So basically what happened was, the background to this, his daughter watches my channel, and she must have sent him a couple of my videos, as he claimed, and then of course he disagreed with my submissions and stuff. I think one of the videos must have been about stop giving money to your family and stuff like that. So he took it personally, and of course out of context, my submission in that particular video, for the purposes of clarity, was particularly the African diasporans. You're here abroad, a lot of people mentally trapped by how do I call it now, emotional blackmail, from the folks back home, and sentiments as well. And then what people do is you spend many years just pretty much sending funds back home. I'm not exactly saying don't help people or don't assist people, but don't do so at your own detriment. There are people who are earning basic monthly wages here in the UK or in the US or across the EU, and they are pretty much taking care of about 5 or 6 people back home on a monthly basis, which when you put that on paper, it's physically impossible for yourself to stay afloat or to be able to put money aside or be able to live have a better quality of life. And particularly some of these people, in addition to the truckload of responsibilities that are sitting on their shoulders, they've also got children and stuff, and these tend to reflect badly on their children, and also if they're married and their marriages and stuff, and then inflicts the union with unnecessary headache. You get the gist, right? So he was saying to me that he's got 2 children abroad, right? And he has basically spent a lot of money, raising them from childhood. There was a point in his life, he's got 4 children in total, right? So 2 of them live in the diaspora, they live abroad, 2 back home in Africa. So he's saying when they were coming up, or when they were tiny, he had spent a lot of money from the nursery through primary and secondary education. There was a point in his life where he was in a bad way. He lost a lot of money in business, he was in debt. He went out of his way to make sure that they had good education, they were well fed, they were well clothed, and stuff, like basically did his best as a man to put bread on the table. I salute you, sir. And then he said, years ago, he sent the firstborn here, who had traveled here on a student visa, and he said he paid, a lot of money to support him here, to pay his fees and all that through the 3 years of university here in the UK as an international student. So eventually, I think the firstborn then, met a partner here in the UK, which eventually helped him to, adjust his status. So long and short is, the firstborn is now settled here. Then the secondborn also came here for masters. She did a first degree back home. The secondborn came here for master's degree, and upon completion of a master's degree, she kind of went back home briefly, came back. So long and short, they're both living here in the West. They're now permanent residents in the UK, they're working, they're both married, they got kids and stuff like that. So back home, right, he did say, I must say this, that, they would send him, whatever they claim they can afford. But he used the word, they both send me tiny amounts of money. He said, for example, the firstborn would give him £150 a month. And he said the secondborn, sometimes £100, sometimes £150. He said, but she's between £100 and £120, monthly. Himself and the wife, they're basically mounting pressure on these two, their 2 children who are clearly adults. And this man said, in his own words, this is not me, in the email, said he is demanding a minimum of £500 per month per child. Wow. So, of course, they rebelled. they rejected his assertions and whatever basis for his claims or his demands and stuff. And I suspect that's why one of them who happened to watch my channel sent him a couple of my videos, which exacerbated the situation. All right, so this man is then basically trying to say to me that I'm doing the African diasporan community a major disservice by asking them not to take care of their parents, which is absolute nonsense, truckload of garbage. So that's the story long and short. So I'm going to say a couple of points. First of all, point number one, you see, any child that you give birth to, just the way I was born, just the way the next person was born, did not ask to be born. Okay, so I hear this a lot. It's as if when some parents start saying stuff like, I'm doing you a favor. No, you didn't. Just like I didn't ask to be born. You amalgamated your sexual desires with that of your partners, okay? And by so doing, during the course of the sexual collusion, you brought me into existence. You brought your children into existence, right? And on goes that cycle, okay? So these children didn't ask to be born. Now, of course, you've done X, Y, Z, you've provided this and this and this. All of the things that you listed, right? I paid for their school, for good education, I gave them food, I kept a roof over their head, I made sure they were well fed. Sir, I hate to break it to you. What else could you have done? It's the least you could have done. Believe me, man, you brought them into existence. You and your wife and their mom, you have a joint responsibility. You have a liability, right? It's joint responsibility. So wait, I bring kids into existence. It's my responsibility to feed them, to clothe them, to keep a roof over their head. Point blank simple. Again, whilst on the side of compassion, if you're a great parent who is not banging on about what you've spent, what you've done, I think it's just natural. It will happen organically, that compassion would flow organically from your children, and sometimes they'll get out of their way to make sure dad is well fed, dad is well clothed, or they do this for mom and stuff. But to be demanding like a dictator, I hate to break it to you, sir, you chose to send them abroad, okay? Let's clarify this. You chose. Now, yes, so they can have opportunity, but of course, I suspect that you couldn't afford to send all 4 of them. You sent 2 abroad, and they decided to, stay back and find their footings here and settle down. Great, and then you say they're giving you tiny amount of money. How do you know what they bring in monthly? They are adults. They've got their own children. They've got their own truckload of responsibilities, monthly outgoings, rent or mortgage, cars, food, the usual stuff. There's only slight differences depending on your lifestyle, who you are, how old your kids are, how extravagant you are and stuff. But these are basic stuff that people have to pay for in the diaspora, right? Bills are inevitable. So if your son, 2 of them, right? One is able to give you £150 a month. One is able to give you £100 or averagely or 120. That's about £250, £270 combined, right? Monthly. And then you have the nerve to say they give you a tiny amount. 200 and at the time of filming this, right? £250 a month times 595, the current exchange rate. That's 148,000, let's say approximately 150,000 naira. That's what they can afford. And even that in itself is a patronizing statement to say they're giving me a tiny amount of money, and then you're making demands. So, lest I forget. So his daughter has not completely cut him off, but she's basically stopped sending money. So she said, because he demanded, a minimum of £500 a month, and then he was talking about, then he tried to use these, when they try to flip the script on you and say to me that, oh, you're making all these videos because you're looking for fame. First of all, I don't know who is looking for fame. Wait till you grow older and then you will understand better what I am saying. Sir, I hate to break it to you. That's why it's absolutely crucial that you understand personal finance. You get financial knowledge. You understand me? Plan ahead. Some might say I'm saying this just for YouTube, but I'll tell you from a personal point of view, I am actually, in fact, my brain, me as an individual, Phrankleen, my brain is not wired. Has never been wired in that way that I'm sat and I'm already thinking and imagining that, oh yeah, when I grow older, I'm gonna be getting this and this from my children. Never. That I'm gonna do this. Never. Nah. That's why you've got to plan your finance, plan your future. Okay? Plan for your old age. Okay? It's very important. There's a difference between if your children reach out and say, oh dad, take this, I'll buy you this wristwatch. Oh dad, take this pair of shoes. Dad, please, let me, oh dad, here's a brand new car as a gift. I'll take it. That's my daughter, that's my son. I'll take it, it's a blessing. But for me to be waiting that before I drive a car, I'm waiting for my son or my daughter to buy me a car. I failed at life. Facts only. Now, there are different stories, different sides to this. You see, there are some parents that are selfless. That's the word I'm going to use. If you're a selfless parent, you see, this is the way I see it. You give birth to children. Do what you've got to do for them as a father, as a mother, okay? Put your goodness, put your effort into the universe. Lean back, okay? You've got to be a special type of heartless person to then deliberately turn your back on your parents when they are old and gray. Maybe they're broke, they haven't got much money now. But you see, the children that you're raising, they're not stupid. They've got brains. They've got brains. Childhood memories are the best when you're good to them. Even if you ask, say, okay, life happens, and they say, Dad, look, I know, Dad, I'm trying my best. Okay, I'll see what I can do, but I've got pressure on me at the moment because of my outgoings. I've got family, kids. Dad, I tell you what, I can support you with £150 at the moment, okay? Monthly, I can give you £150, and hopefully when things do get better for me, I'll give you a bit more. Great. Even if what I was looking for was, let's assume, I'm talking hypothetically, was £1,000, I dare not open my mouth to say to my daughter or my son that I'm giving you ultimatum or I'm demanding. If you spent £1 million so your children can go study abroad, that's a choice you made. All right? You're not raising them. So unfortunately, it's a very toxic mentality that's very common in Africa, where people give birth to children. They see those children as a form of investment. You monetize your children. That's where the problem lies. You see them as commodities. You see them as streams of income when you grow old, right? Oh, I gave birth to you. I carried you in my womb for 9 months. You had sex with a man. He made love to you, whatever happened, right? He pounded you to dust. You got pregnant. You brought me into existence. So in the process, the biological part of things, because you're a woman, you have a womb, you get to carry the baby. So you're going to then weaponize that process. It's like a universal process that's attached to humans, particularly to females, because you're a woman, you've got a womb in you. So because you carried me for 9 months, you then have to smack that over my head and use that to make demands. That's emotional blackmail. That's what we are up against. If you have 2 children abroad, and between them, if all they can come up with is £250 a month and £300 a month, that's what they can afford. They don't have to let down their own children, wives or husband, just to keep you happy. Nah, that's plainly selfish. That's my argument, sir. Okay? you send them abroad, it's great. I'm sure they appreciate, but you have got to stop being selfish, all right? You've got to stop being selfish, sir. No disrespect, but I've got to say it like it is. That's what we do on here, right? You cannot put a gun to your children's heads and make, out of this planet type of demands. Do you know what it means for somebody to be able to give you £500 a month? This is not like a one-off £500 for a particular project or to buy you a generator or buy you a car. No. You want ongoing £500 per person. So that's £1,000. Because in order for me to part with £500, I've got to have a substantive amount of disposable income. That the £500 will actually be like giving out £1 that I wouldn't even realize I've given it out, right? And then you're telling them that you've given them ultimatum, you've told them they can cut, and then he's then telling me that his daughter has basically completely stopped giving him money. That's why. Because you're being selfish and particularly being unreasonable. Anyway, it's your boy Phrankleen. What do you think? Join the conversation below. I want to hear from you guys, man. Listen, if you want to support my channel, the # Phrankleen on Cash App. There's a link in my description for PayPal, and you can also join my Patreon, for as little as $5 a month, or join my channel membership, all right, for $4.99 a month, all right. If you don't want to do any of those things, you're within your rights. Don't forget to like my video, help me share across your platform, and I will definitely catch you in the next one. Peace and love, man. Bye-bye.